Hi there, I'm Patty Whipfler. I am the founder and the program director at Hand in Hand Parenting. And today I want to talk about using special time as an enduring practice, using special time to really weave it into your daily life, kind of the same way you weave breakfast in every day, or you weave, a shower or some, bodily cleansing ritual in every day. And doesn't have to happen at the same time every day, but there is an expectation. You plan for it. It's just part of what you do. That's where we're really encouraging parents to, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, to make special time an enduring practice, because it has really, it's the practice that gives and keeps on giving over time. So here I wanted to talk about what you can expect, because at this point I've been doing this work and have been both giving and watching parents give and following families that give special time and that use the other listening tools as well. Really, it's special time is one, it's kind of the leading tool, but play listening is important. Setting limits is vital. Stay listening is what you do when your child has big feelings to unload. And special time kind of opens the door to your child really showing you what they need, and to you actually being able to interpret and understand their behavior accurately. So it opens the door both for your child to show you what's going on, and for you to see it, understand it, and furnish, basically meet their core needs. Listening partnerships are the fifth tool, and none of the tools work very well unless you are getting some listening time, so that the tensions that build up every day as a parent don't become a boulder that you and your child can't see around. They can't see you around this boulder of tension that you carry, and you can't see them around this boulder of tension that you carry. And listening partnerships are what allow us to laugh and cry and rage that collection of difficulty, feelings of difficulty that gather over time for any parent in a society where parenting is really so poorly supported. You deserve the support that listening partnerships give, and you and your child will actually be able to see and understand one another so much better if that's also an enduring practice. But today we're talking about special time as the lead tool, the sort of the pioneering tool to open the doors to deeper understanding and a way to release stress. So what to expect? Well, when you first start giving special time to your child, there's, 4 different typical ways that children respond to the first few times you offer special time, or the first, say, 10 times you offer special time. One way is a very slow and cautious approach, where your child just asks for something that they like to do, and that they want to do many times a day. So if your child is really into, trains on a train track, then what they want to do is play with their trains, and you're just there to watch them play with their trains. That's all they want you to do. And that happens the first time. It happens the second time. Mommy, let's play trains. The third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. Or it could be a favorite storybook, or it could be, dressing Barbie, or it could be, riding their trike fast down the sidewalk. Children have their passions, and their mild interests, and it could be, something like that, just something you've done with them. You do it anyway, special time or not. And here they are at special time. You're all geared up for it to look special, and it doesn't look special at all. It's like, oh my gosh, we've done this before. Don't you want to do something special? And you mustn't do that. You just allow. So that's one way it can open. It can open a little less cautiously. It actually opens cautiously because children need to check out what it means that you'll do whatever they want to do. And they're not ready to expect too much. They don't, basically it's hard for children to get their hopes up if their hopes have been dashed many times before because parents are in charge of the relationship and have to say this happens and have to say that. So your child may be slow to open up just because they don't know what you really mean. So that's one possibility. They may do mild exploration, well, let's take a walk, or let's make, let's get out all the cans and bang on them in the kitchen. That's a little more than mild exploration, actually. So it could be just, that they are trying to figure things out. And so, oops, my husband is here. You're on live Facebook TV. Thank you. Okay. There could be enthusiastic exploration, sort of moving up on the courage, the child's ability to use their courage to ask for things that don't usually happen. So they could say, well, can we jump on the beds? And you can go, yeah, I think I have to put something up against the bedpost so you don't hurt yourself, but let me fix that. Okay, there we go. That's what you want to do. I'm right here. So that's a sign that a child, has some confidence that you will pay attention, and you don't have to go through this very slow confidence building thing, which is not a bad sign. It's like most children are cautious around, whether to expect very much from adults or not, and it's fine. Just go through it. It might take you 10 special times before they ask for anything very, different or, inventive. But that is what it takes. You can't suggest a special time that's inventive and have that work. It has to be the child's choice, so you follow their choice. And then sort of on the other extreme, it's like it may be that your child, when you offer special time, comes up with an immediate issue. Don't turn on the timer. I don't like the timer. No, not the timer. And they may burst into tears, and you haven't even gotten to special time. You were just going to start timing it. And they have a protest that brings up big feelings. Or sometimes it's, well, I don't know what to do. There's nothing here to do. And you get sort of boredom. And what you need to know is that your child is trusting you already, to be there for the feelings that they have. That's actually a sign that all is going very well. It may be a bit of a disconcerting sign to you. What's important is that you listen. It's like really special time is, it's listening through the vehicle of play. And you can also listen through the vehicle of an upset, oh, there's nothing to do. Okay, well, I'll just be with you while you see if there's anything that comes to your mind. You get to choose anything. And, I'll be here. Maybe your mind will think of something. And you just basically be pleased with what's going on. Or they're having a huge fit over the timer. Yeah, I did turn the timer on. That's how we do special time. We use a timer. So it starts, and then a little later it ends. Yeah, I'm sorry it upset you. I'm right here. I'll be here till it feels better. So you take your stay listening position of, okay, something needs to be scrubbed out here. The whole idea of special time was all it took for your child to take you up on the idea that you would really be with them for whatever they want to do. And what they want to do is cry about the timer. And that is an excellent thing to do. If the idea of the timer stopped their brain, they're not going to be able to choose anything interesting for special time until they clear that out. Whatever the disappointment is, the timer is the excuse to go in and work on something bigger, something old. So those are the various ways. I'm sure there are other ways that, the practice of special time can begin, but those are the ones that came to my mind this morning. Okay, and as you do special time, safety will build as you prove that you can pay attention for 10 minutes, as you prove that you can allow things that you usually wouldn't during those 10 minutes. As you show your interest and you keep your interest and your warmth coming towards them, even if you're both looking at something or they asked you to draw right next to them so that your eyes are down on paper. Now, as you make eye contact, this builds a sense of safety. It builds a feeling of your willingness to connect. And that will open up this such an interesting process of your child showing you who they are, what they love, what they struggle with in during the vehicle of special time, and they trust you more with what they're thinking outside of special time. So as you do special time over, say, the first month or two, your child will suddenly begin telling you, Aunt Nora is always so busy. How come she can't play? And they never talked about Aunt Nora before like that. And they never said that they noticed that Aunt Nora is, kind of running on a fast track every time they see her. So, children's observations come out. Um, so one mom that I think I talked about it earlier, or I often talk about, started giving her son special time in the morning before school. And within 2 weeks, he was crying and telling her all of the troubles that he felt about his relationship with his dad, who lived in a different place, and he had to go back and forth between the households. And she had never, ever heard his feelings about his relationship with his dad. And it took about 2 or 3 weeks of special time before all of that came pouring out. And she was so glad that he could relieve those feelings with her. And, the engine for that safety was special time. So you'll hear more about what's hard on your child. You'll also see that as you progress with using special time on a regular basis and stay listening when needed, you will notice that your child's behavior clears, that there are fewer behavior hitches, or that there are longer periods where your child is delightful and cooperative and able to flex and enthusiastic about their life. And then there will be these intensely emotional periods where they're hoping that you will listen to them while they get the tensions in their lives released with your help and your caring and your confidence. So life will, the difficulties and the troubles that your child carries will slowly but surely confine themselves to small, intense periods that are very, very emotionally intense. But as you begin to trust, stay listening, you'll find that your confidence builds, that although they are absolutely out of their mind with upset right now, they will recover their ability to think, they'll recover their perspective. All you have to do is stick with them, listen, and care. So your confidence in this whole emotional release process and in your child's wisdom in triggering it with tiny little things to bring up the great big feelings that lurk below will increase also. And your trust in your child will increase. And as you're using listening partnerships, your enjoyment of your child will increase even when they are, really off track. You'll actually get the message and you'll know which tool to use to respond. You'll have a way to respond. And if you don't know how to respond or are really exhausted with having to respond, you'll have confidence that your next listening partnership is going to take care of that, even if it can't take care of that today. So your ability to handle the ups and downs of parenting, the emotional roller coaster that it is living with children and living with yourself as a parent, you'll begin to have more and more confidence that you know what to do, or that you can soon figure that out as soon as you get some listening time. So special time gives you, slowly but surely, a sense of trust in your child's judgment, a sense that a cry is a good thing, not an obnoxious thing or a bothersome thing or a total problem. And and your child will begin to tell you more directly what they need and how they need it. So I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted by these questions coming in. I'm going to try to stay with my train of thought and we'll get to the questions if I can. let's see. Oh, your child will tell you what they need. So oftentimes the sign that special time has become a practice and your child is really depending on it, is that your child says, Daddy, I need some special time. Instead of going and, pushing their sister over, or, grabbing a toy from a friend. It's like what you get is, I need some special time, because your child can tell that they're drifting out of your orbit of love, and they know what will bring them back in, what will help them have that sense of connection again, and they ask for it. And parents learn to respond to that, because if you don't, then behavioral signals come out that are much harder to deal with, that make everybody upset. So that's a sign that things are going very well. Your child is depending on special time. They know how good it feels to be in connection with you, and they know how to get there if you will help them. They don't have to use, aggression or withdrawal, or, obstinacy or refusal, to show you that they're out of whack. They just can tell you, I'm almost out of whack. How about special time? And over time, special time becomes a problem solver. It's like if your child's behavior winds up, being really, really difficult over a period of a week or so, it will occur to you, I think we have to up special time. I think there's something in there my child can't tell me. I need to increase the safety so that whatever that is can show itself, either in a big cry over having to go to bed at 8 o'clock, or over what I served for dinner, or, over, I don't want to read this book and I have to read this book for school. So you will begin to be an adroit problem solver using special time and the other listening tools. And so what I'll say about how children turn out when then in adolescence, special time continues to be a very, very useful tool. It continues to be sort of an avenue into each other when there's an awful lot of interesting other things going on. And you may use special time less frequently. It's probably certainly will not be an everyday thing. But it will be a way that your teen or preteen can show you what's important for them. I think just the personal example that comes to mind is that when my son turned 13 or 14, he still loved special time and really craved it. And it's my older son. And what he wanted to do for several times in a row is he really loved music, and he was really choosing his music. It's like, that's the period of time in which young people try to show who they are through their music and their clothing, and other external identifications that they carry that say, this is me. And he was really interested in music. So he got 2 little speakers for his bedroom so he could play the music he wanted in just the way he wanted to. And for special time, he would ask me to come in and lie down in a very particular place on his carpet in the middle of the room. And then he would adjust the speakers and measure them to make sure that they were exactly the same distance away from my ears if I laid in that spot. He was very precise about this. And then special time would begin when we had it all measured right. And I would lie down, and he would lie down next to me. And then he would play his very favorite songs. And as he played them, he would lay there and just, visibly, but, very mildly just tremble, because the music moved him, and my attention gave him the feeling that he was, I don't know, it just moved him to have me there and have the music and have us lying there together next to each other on his carpet. So young people will, and that was just such a surprising at first, but also such a deeply trusting thing that happened for us. And I did not particularly love his music, but my opinions were not important. What was important was he was showing me what he loved, and he was completely open as he did it. It was just such a pretty thing. was very, very special to me. So, and sometimes teens will come in late at night, and what you do is, try to be awake and half alert at least, so that they can begin talking about all of the things that are on their minds. And you wind up doing unannounced special time where you really push yourself to pay full attention, and you don't go get yourself a cup of tea or ask them if they want a cup of chocolate in the middle of it. You just listen. So in a way, you train yourself to give special time even when you didn't say you were going to. If your child looks like they need listening or need the calm attention, and during that time you give no advice, you use the same special time rules. So that begins to happen in teen years. You also get teen explosions. Um, and but special time helps keep repairing the relationship, even when it's rocky, even when you kind of lose sight of each other for a while. And it can be, I worked with one dad whose daughter, he had divorced his children's mom, and the daughter was pretty alienated from him at the time of the divorce. And then she went off to college, and it had been 2 years since he had done very much with her at all. And he just decided he wanted to rebuild that relationship. And I said, well, drive up there with no agenda whatsoever and just say, I have the morning for you, and or whatever 4 hour or 5 hour chunk of time that you have. And we can do anything you want or nothing at all during this time. You don't have to be with me, but I'm here, and I'd be happy to go for a walk, take you out for a meal, see where you go to school, see, do anything you'd like. And just open it up and don't demand that she take it, just offer it. And if she doesn't take anything, then just say, okay, well, I'm here until 4 o'clock. And if you think of something, here's where I'll be. You can come find me at the park, and just make yourself available, but don't push yourself on her, because you cannot force a relationship, even if you're her father. She needs to want it. She needs to decide to take it. And actually she did. She, spent time with him. I don't remember what they did exactly, but she took most of that time. And then when she didn't feel like being with him anymore, she said, okay, I'm going to go be with my friends now. And he was amazed, actually, that she, took him up on this. And he said, okay, well, I'd like to do this again. I'll be back in about 3 weeks. I'll let you know. And she goes, okay. And she came back and did this a second time. And by the third time, she was telling him about her life, and they were actually, better connected than they'd been in years, even during the time when his relationship with her mom was so difficult and they were all living under the same roof. So special time can be just a great way to sort of start from the very first principles in a relationship, which is you make your attention available, and you wait for the other person to decide to avail themselves of what you're offering there. And what I'll say is that young people who are brought up with the listening tools, there's a chapter at the last chapter of the Listen book talks about many of the young people that I know quite well, because, I was quite involved in their lives or in their parents' lives. And so I, knew a lot about how things had developed between their parents and them in childhood and then through adolescence. And what I can say is that children, oh, one other thing you can expect if there are younger children around, or siblings around, one other thing you can expect is that your child will offer to give special time to other children and will be really good at it. They will also be able to stay listened to other children and be really, really good at it. And that ability starts actually very early. Little 2-year-olds can, if they've been well listened to during their upsets, they can come around and just quietly be with another child who's having a big upset, and listen and pay attention and be very, very interested in the child. And they can't do this usually by themselves. They need a parent, there as well, but they like to join in and add their attention to the parent's attention. So That's something, it's not going to crop up because you want it to. It will crop up when your child's sort of little attention cup is nice and full. And for some children, it takes a couple of years of working through early issues and having big cries about small things before, they have the capacity to offer that same resource to someone else. But it does come. It does come. So, um, so I want to tell you two stories about young people who I know who used to have huge cries when they were little. I'm going to tell you first about a young man who was both my son's good friend, still is a very, very close friend in our family. And I don't know, I remember listening to him for, I think it was close to 40 minutes about, it's time to pick up the blocks. And he just would cry and wail and sweat and want to get away. And it's like, no, we're not going to go anywhere else. These blocks need to be picked up, and I'm here, and we'll find a way to do it. I know that it's going to be your job. Here we are, and just let him grieve and fight and hate the fact that the blocks had to be picked up. And so, he was a lot of fun to play with. He loved to wrestle, loved to roughhouse, loved to run around, loved to laugh. He was great at all three of the boys together were just great at long, good, hard laughs. And so there were many adventures had. And then he went off to college and he didn't really know what he wanted to do. And when I think it was the middle of freshman year, he just decided he really wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And, that's good. So he started taking guitar lessons. I don't know if he took them at the college he was at or privately, but the more lessons he got, the more in love he was with the guitar. And pretty soon he was really spending a lot of time learning guitar, and he made it through college. But the guitar was just the thing he really wanted. And he wound up learning guitar very, very quickly and very, very well. And he wound up, starting guitar at 19 and applying for this very elite music school in Vienna, to become a classical guitarist, like on the fast track. And he got in, after 4 years of playing the guitar and really, really focusing. It's like he had intense focus and he knew what he wanted and he went after it with everything he had. And so he went to Vienna to school there. He learned German. He loved the school. He became a really excellent classical guitarist. Then he went to, but he missed being with people, and he missed having something that actually helped people in a practical way. So one summer, or I think maybe it was one semester, he decided to leave school in Vienna and come back and work on the suicide hotline in his hometown, his home city. And he was good at that. He was listening to people with huge troubles. He knows how to listen. And it all felt very good to him. Then he went back to music school and went on to graduate education at a university in France. So he went to France, learned French, continued his work on guitar, started performing, and then decided, no, this is not what I want to do with my life. He had become really a superb classical guitarist, which is amazing, having started at 19. But I think at 23 or 24, he came back and started working for the recreation department in a large city, in the Pacific time zone, and did really well. And pretty soon he was in charge of I don't know, something like 135 recreation programs for disadvantaged kids all over his city. And actually, before that, he ran a midnight basketball program for Black kids in a neighborhood where there was a lot of gang action. And he was the only white person for probably miles around in that neighborhood. And he's working with kids who really had a lot of gang involvement. And as the only white person there, he was often scared, but he knew how to work on his feelings. So he worked on his fears and worked on his fears and built really good, solid, respectful relationships with the guys who hung out at midnight basketball. And it was a very successful program. He wound up having to go to city council, which was a big deal because this is a large city, and show up and fight for funds for midnight basketball, which he did successfully. Then he wound up he has been working for the recreation department there for the last, I think, 15 years. He has a very high position in that department at this point, serving the needs of young people, in particular, young people coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, serving their needs for leadership and for something important to do, and some way to build community with other kids. So and he has a child, uses special time, uses all the listening tools. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just so the capacities that this practice gives young people are really great. They get to follow their passions and do it intelligently. I'll just tell you one more briefer story. This is a young girl whose mom was on welfare for the first 3 or 4 years that she was learning hand in hand from me. This is way back at the very beginning of Hand in Hand. And her mom is a single mom. She's African American girl, and she was brought up with special time and all the listening tools. And when she went to, I think I've told this story here before, she went to college and got a couple of years doing what she loved, but there was a faculty member who was emotionally abusive towards her, and it kind of undermined her self-esteem for those 2 years that she was there. And she began to get sick and began to lose weight, and she was just not thriving. So she came back home and knew that she needed to work on the ways in which her self-esteem had been eroded by this person, and also on just early self-esteem issues. So she started doing listening partnerships with other Black friends that she had who were in their early 20s and trying to find their way in the world. She started a weekly support group, and she, read stuff about leadership, and she everybody in the support group listened to one another, taking turns listening like we do in listening partnerships. She basically used everything that she had absorbed from Hand in Hand in order to help herself and other young people in her same position who were targeted by racism, in their young adulthood, trying to figure out, coming from a poverty, trying to figure out what to do, how to find work, how to navigate the world. And that went on for, I think, a couple of years. And she has gone on to found an organization that empowers young women of color, young, like early 20s, in a university town on the East Coast, and has been very, very successful at this. So using the tools really does free a child's intelligence. It preserves a child's intelligence. It preserves the values of connection and of, taking responsibility for your life and for making the world a better place. All of that seems to keep coming out of children who are raised in this way. It's like they have the capacity to care more broadly, as well as to really tend their close personal relationships well. And all of these young people have made mistakes, I will say. They all have, their ups and downs. They've been through hard patches. And their parents, they do rely on their parents at times for listening when the chips are down so that they can keep bouncing back. And so our jobs as parents, in my experience anyway, don't end when the child goes off at age 18 or 20 to, follow their own path. They keep coming back and keep using us as a listener because we care, because we understand them deeply, because they have a whole 10 or 15 years of experience of us caring through listening. So I don't know how how things will work out for you. Those very first steps of just starting with special time and then waiting for the feelings to be safe enough to erupt, and then learning how to stay listen and getting some play in there too sometimes. Lots of laughter is good. And setting necessary limits. It's like it. None of it's easy. None of it is a piece of cake. None of it gets easier over time necessarily. Although your confidence will build, you still will have emotional projects, because all of a sudden you're worried about something that you haven't really worked on before. And your worries can be lower after you work on them and notice them. So I'm going to look. I think I've said way too much for this little Facebook Live here, but let me see if there are questions that I can quickly answer. So if we set the timer and big feelings come out, are we starting special time after the big feelings? Or if there isn't that much time, is the letting out of feelings the special time? You really can do either. I would say you set the timer and that's the beginning of special time. And then your child has an explosion, no, that's not what I want, and you just go, well, the timer is part of special time. It is what we do to start it. So we know that I'm really going to pay attention and that I'm not going to be interrupted. It helps me know that. I don't want it. I don't want it. It's going to go off and then it's going to be over. Yeah, it will go off and it will be over, but we can do it again. I don't want to do it again. I want to do it now. I want more. The timer makes it less. Well, I'm right here and I'm sorry it's hard. And you don't have to make it better. You don't have to make it better. And when the timer goes off and they're still crying, you just go, oh, well, we'll do special time again. But I didn't want it to be good. I know you didn't. I'll stay with you till it feels better. And in general, when a child is just beginning, there are huge feelings that can go on for a long time. And so you want to set up special time so that you aren't running off to the doctors the minute it's over. You want to set up special time so there is, some slack beat at the end of it, so that if your child has started a big cry, or if at the end of special time they're crying because now it's over, you actually can move in and listen. There's a lot of held feelings behind that dam of I have to look okay in order to make my parents feel like, everything's all right. And when you show them that you can pay attention and that however they are is okay, vavoom, you're going to get a lot of feelings. And for a period of a while, feelings are going to come up often and intensely. And when they come up, the child is going to notice that you're listening and they're going to want to keep going. So what you want to do really is shift things around so that you can pay attention, because when children are working deeply is when they are creating the change that is going to make your life with your child so much better. Your child's attitude, their hope, their trust in you, all of that can be elevated greatly by one big chunk of listening time. If you really can't listen, then and they're crying, and now they're crying even harder because now the timer went off and their special time is over. You can just, what would be really good would be to go, sweetie, I'm going to have to pick you up and put you on my back because we have to, do X, Y, or Z. I have to make lunch for your little baby sister. I'm going to put you on my back, and just kind of hold their hand, let them hang on to your leg, put them on your hip, and then do the other things you need to do while they continue. And you just, yeah, special time will be different tomorrow. I don't want it tomorrow. I wanted it now. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. We will get there. And you basically just let them keep scrubbing. They are scrubbing hard at very important stuff to scrub out. And so if you can keep just allowing the crying and paying a little bit of attention there while you do these other things over here, or while you text someone, hey, can we do X, Y, or Z in a half an hour? I'm busy right now. That would be the best thing. And if not, then just tell them you love them and pull them close and just basically keep them close by so that your love can be felt and your permission to keep working hard on those feelings can be felt. That's, that's what I would say there. Okay. So you can either extend special time or you cannot, but no matter what you do, there's still going to be, feelings. They've tapped into something that's, goes way down deep and gets rich and full, and the instinct to heal is going strong. Yeah, all of that is good. So let's see. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to mention, I'm sorry. So there's a special time toolkit, and you can just go to the Hand in Hand website and type in special time toolkit, or I'm sure there are, links being put out on Facebook that you can click in order to get your, a little special time workbook and a list of how to do special time and um, other goodies there that will help you kind of organize your thinking about special time and will help you begin the practice. Once you've begun the practice and have seen some really good results from the way your child is feeling you there, you'll get comfortable with it. But the toolkit is a good way to get started. We ask for a $6 donation for the toolkit because Hand in Hand needs to keep reaching out to parents like you. We really want parenting to change from, demand and control to listen and guide, and limits for sure, but listen and guide, so that parents and children don't lose the joy in really feeling together, feeling connected with one another. So let's see here. Does your young one need us? Oh, sorry. What's the recommended amount of time to start with? Recommended amount of time to start with is however long you can pay attention. I once worked with a guy in it was a corporate parent support group, who had been so closely and severely controlled in his childhood that he told me he couldn't spend more than 3 minutes with one of his children without telling them what to do, telling them how to open the door, how to walk up the stairs, where to put their toy. I mean, basically, he just noticed this as soon as he tried to do special time. It's like, I have to tell them what to do. It was a very strong, emotionally backed impulse. And so for him, 2 minutes of special time was a good idea because he wasn't kind of like bursting with direction by 3 minutes. So he started with 2 minutes, and slowly but surely he learned that the world, the sun kept rising if he didn't give direction during 2 minutes with his child. And he sort of slowly got the feel of this and could slowly open up his ability to listen for 3 minutes and then listen for 4 minutes. Meanwhile, in our support group, he was working on how it had felt to be a child with his parents who didn't trust him for a minute with his own instincts or his own decisions. And that was such an interesting experience, and kind of sad that some people have to grow up with that much, parental interference. But it was all well meant, and he knew it. And he could move from. Parents can always move from where they are. They can always move from where they are. So if you can't pay attention for more than 3 minutes, start with 2. Start with something that's a little bit not out there on the edge of what's comfortable for you. In general, as you train yourself to pay attention and as your child learns to use your attention, they want more. And if you have more, then go ahead and give more. But if you've got 4 children and only a little bit of time, then you do 10 minutes with this one on Mondays and 10 minutes with the next one on Tuesdays and 10 minutes with the third on Wednesdays and 10 minutes with the fourth on Thursdays. And then you start again with 10 minutes with the first. And that's what you can do. Or some parents just can't figure it out on, on weeknights. So they do a chunk of time that's a little longer, 20 minutes maybe, and if you think that your child is going to do something that just makes your hair stand on end during special time, then you just do 5 minutes or 3 minutes. It's like, oh, you want to bang on the pots and pans. Oh, make a drum set. Okay, I'm putting on my headphones and we're going to do this for 5 minutes, and then you hop in and do it with joy. And then special time is over. And if your child's disappointed, you have a little listening to do, which is a little, can also be challenging, like the pots and pans, but sometimes it's less so when you've got noise canceling earphones or some kind of, earplugs to sort of mitigate the way the child's voice grates on your nerves. Thank you for sticking with me. This has been way longer than I thought it would be. I think next week we're going to do a Q&A on special time. It'll be my last sort of special time Facebook Live on Thursday. But I'll be back here for other reasons, other times. So hope you can come. And thank you so much for trying this new idea. Thank you so much for the love you have for your children. Thank you so much for all the extra emotional work you're doing to make it through every day during the shelter in place orders that most of us are under. This is parenting is a lot for parents, and now you're being asked for 3 times as much. And we understand, we stand with you, we think special time will help, and we know listening partnerships will ease your mind and ease your life in unexpected ways. So experiment, have at it. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.